Welcome to the NBA Carousel, brought to you by Sideline Sports in conjunction with Fantasy and Flavors. I'm your host, Megan Price, and since our last episode, we now have a champion for the 2020-2021 season, and the Olympics are now underway. There have been some major changes, and we have the free agency and the draft are near. The Pelicans have a new coach, Willie Green, former assistant for Phoenix. And they also traded to get Valanciunas from Memphis for Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe and a few picks. Let's jump right into the finals talk, though. We have Jordan Long for Phoenix.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
I would be better if the Suns would have won, but otherwise I'm pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, disappointing for sure, but you guys played well. It was a good series. It was not a sweep. I know a lot of people thought it was going to be a sweep in favor for you guys. It didn't turn out that way, but it was an entertaining series. And, the furthest y'all have been in a long while. So congratulations on that. It is a successful season, even though you're not the champion.
No, I would agree with that. It was a successful season. I mean, you look at last year in the bubble, we missed the playoffs by one game, and this year we went all the way from not making the playoffs to the second seed. So it was a good year overall. I mean, of course, you are going to be remembered as a champion. No one's going to remember who came in second, but at least we have a Western Conference Final championship banner to put up in our arena.
Completely agree. Let's go ahead and pull or have Cool McCain come on for the Milwaukee Bucks as well. If he's here, maybe he's not here yet. If not, then just as soon as he gets on, we'll bring him on. So what do you feel like was the biggest disappointment obviously, you don't have the chip, but what was the disappointment in the side story there?
The fact that we could not stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. You look at even the last game, he had 50 points, 30 of them in the paint. We couldn't stop him in the paint. And that killed us. We know how great of a shooter Giannis is. He can shoot from outside, inside. We just didn't have the size to box out. I mean, Ayton, he's 6'11", don't get me wrong. He just wasn't athletic enough to stop Giannis.
Absolutely. And I think that's where that injury that you guys had with Darko, it turned out to be a bigger injury than what you knew, even though Ayton he's a great player. You definitely need a fresh pair of legs to be able to switch out. And at that moment, all you had was your starting center. So that's rough for sure.
It really was. And I know at least in game 6, we tried to put Frank Kaminsky in for DeAndre Ayton. It didn't work. Frank Kaminsky is a good power forward. He is not a center, and he cannot defend more athletic players.
Right. And when Kaminsky got hurt, it was actually Jay Crowder took his position, ended up playing a little bit better, and Kaminsky ended up not being able to keep the minutes because Crowder was playing so well this season. So let's talk positive, though. What was the best thing out of this series? And then what was the best thing that you take out of the season?
Probably the best thing I can take out of the playoffs as a whole is how well Booker played. I mean, we talked about it. I know he played not so great in game 6, but if you look at the playoffs as a whole, it was his first time in the playoffs, and we touched on this even when it started. He didn't look like a rookie. He played fairly well until the fact that we went into the finals, and then the Bucks had a great game plan to slow him down. But Booker was unbelievable. Of course, adding Chris Paul, as we've touched on, helped as well. I mean, he was the veteran presence that the Suns really needed. But also the outside shooting also helped us, especially with like Jay Crowder and Booker hitting threes. But that all went away in game 6.
Definitely. Just seemed like you guys really lost some steam. And I don't know if it was necessarily to me, it felt like they just kind of figured y'all's offense out, and it just wasn't something that y'all were able to recover from game 3 on. Obviously, it was a 4-game loss in a row, and it just seems like they finally, because all season long we've been talking about the fact that Budenholzer and the Bucks lose some games because they don't adjust, and then just magically somehow they adjusted during this series. I don't know if it was on Budenholzer or if it was just on Giannis really putting the team on his back. I know he had some help from Middleton and Holiday, And, especially in game 4 and 5, but game 6 was all Giannis.
It was, but if you look at the series as a whole, you look at games 1 and 2, we were getting the easy shots, and the last 4 that we lost, Budenholzer did a great job. He decided to go with a full court press, and Monty Williams did not, for some reason, adjust to that. So Budenholzer was definitely better at adjustments than that. And of course, Giannis helped. Drew Holiday played pretty good defense. I know you guys have been going on and off with cool about Tucker. He even played well.
My only thing with Tucker, now he's a great defensive player. My only thing with him is that he doesn't score much. And to me, I don't put that on PJ Tucker because he can score. He's absolutely a great 3-point shooter. To me, that was more coaching that they didn't put him in that position. And I know that, that's not what he's necessarily there for. But if you're in the starting lineup, I definitely think you need to have at least 4 or 5 points.
Well, yeah, I would agree, except for if we look, I'm going to go all the way back to the 1998 Bulls, or that dynasty that we saw. Dennis Rodman would have 0 points, but he would have the rebound. So, yeah, points do help, but defense also helps you win championships.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. And now that the season's over, I'm not talking about PJ anymore for a while. Well, let's talk about the Olympics for a little bit while we wait on Cool. What's your take on Team USA? They ended up losing to France, who has Evan Fournier and Rudy Gobert on their squad. I think they lost by 6 or 7 points.
It was a 7-point loss to France. A lot of people are saying it's embarrassing, but I think this is actually a pretty good loss. It just shows you have to gel as a team, and we talked about it last week. They didn't have a lot of time to gel. A lot of the times I know, especially when Coach K was doing it, it was a lot of these teams would play in the FIBA World Championships. They would actually get together and try to gel. These guys would just put together and say, hey, let's go ahead and play. But the other thing is you have to wonder how much the season has taken effect for most of these players, like Devin Booker and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. They all played in the NBA Finals. I don't know how much they actually played in the loss to France, but the fact of the matter is most of these guys have played since August, to barely having an off season. You start in late December, and now you're playing through pretty much August. That's a lot of wear and tear on your feet. But the thing is I'm not too worried about Team USA. They're going to play Iran on Wednesday. If they don't, I think it's on Wednesday. If they don't beat that, then we have some problems. But the fact of the matter is I've also heard that the team isn't exactly thrilled about Greg Popovich and how he's running the offense. But then again, these guys are professionals. You're playing in FIBA rules, which is a little bit different than the NBA. I know it's a little bit more physical than they're used to. The goaltending rules are completely different. They just have to adjust their game. And if they don't, they may not even medal.
There was some comments that I heard about Popovich saying that they don't like his offense. Definitely Popovich is a system type of coach, and a lot of players, Dame, KD, the offense is centered around them and them alone. Just generally they, get the ball to them and they're going to shoot and they're going to carry the team. KD does work well with the team, but Dame, it's been pretty much just all him. Not saying he's not working well with the team, but he's definitely used to it being him having to be the majority of the offense. So, hopefully they're able to work through that. The ladies play Nigeria tonight, 11:40 Central my time. So it'll be 12:40 Eastern time. I do think they'll do well against Nigeria. They did play them. That was the last exhibition game they played, and they won by about 30 points. But it's, that was an exhibition game. This is an actual game. And I don't know if that works in your favor or if it works against you, having just played this team. So now they can adjust to you, and maybe they will put up a bigger fight than they did in that exhibition game.
It is difficult when you have to play a team, so close together, because like you just said, you can adjust, you have time to adjust. But our women's team, they lost to Australia in the exhibition, and then playing Nigeria to get, confidence going. I personally think that the USA women are going to be fine. They have shooters, they have scorers. I can't remember the last time they didn't win a gold medal. So really for them, it's gold or bust. I'm not worried. I think they'll be fine.
I do think they'll be fine, but I think this presents the question of, has basketball in America, has the quality gone down, or has the quality around the world just gone up?
If I'm looking at just because I more follow the NBA, the women's game, I think they haven't really caught up to us. They have good women's players around the world. But if you look at the NBA itself, most of the best players in the game are international. You have Luka Doncic from Slovenia, Nikola Jokic from he is from Serbia. But the fact of the matter is, you have a lot of all these international players who are going picks 1, 2, and 3 high draft picks. So the world has caught up to the United States, especially in basketball in that respect. But the other thing, the flip side is we do still have the best basketball players in the world. Maybe not on Team USA this Olympics, but in general, we do have some of the best talent in the world.
Right. Now, I know Patrick Ewing had a quote come out earlier today saying that he felt like the world had finally caught up with the United States. And I agree with that to a point. You mentioned like Luka and Joker, but they're obviously the best players on their team. Do they have enough players around them in comparison to Team USA, where pretty much everyone on Team USA, we know who they are, we know who they play with, what they do all season long. I am concerned for the men's. I don't know if they're going to medal. They don't look like they're gelling well together. They definitely haven't had time to play together like that. And for the ladies, there's a FIBA championship next summer as well. So they will be constructing their season around that, similar like they did this season. So the women will be back August 15th. They will be taking this month off, and then their season will resume. It'll be the second half of the season, and then their finals will be, I think playoffs start in the middle of September. So the finals will be just as the NBA season is starting to pick back up. Now, this week we have Thursday, we have the draft starts. So do you have a first round pick?
I believe the Suns do have a first round pick, but I'm not sure exactly which way they're going just because of the fact we don't know what's going to happen in free agency. But I would definitely want them to get an outside shooter. I know it's going to be towards the end of the draft. So at that point, you just pick the best player available. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I know that you covered Phoenix for us, but you're actually a Denver Nuggets fan. Is there some hopes? What do you hope for your team to get out of the draft and maybe possibly free agency?
Draft, I mean, our roster is pretty much set except for Will Barton. The draft is just looking at younger players. In free agency, we're going to have Jamal Murray out for a while, which is going to hurt us going into next season. I haven't heard if they're going to pick up Austin Rivers or not, but we saw that he's a great point guard for Jamal Murray, but we need somebody else out there like Chris Paul. I'm just throwing out the name, a veteran point guard to lead this team more. And also outside shooting. I know JJ Redick's available. Yeah, Evan Fournier, who was actually drafted by the Denver Nuggets, Mike Conley. Those would be good players to pick up because the last 2 years, our outside shooting for the Denver Nuggets hasn't been that great, and that has cost us some games. So it'd be nice to get an outside shooter, and we could also use some defenders, somebody down low, like a Robin Lopez or Cody Zeller.
Cody Zeller. Okay. Yeah. And I know, a friend of mine that's actually a co-host on my other show is a Hornets fan. And so we've talked about Cody Zeller quite a bit. And he said he was actually ready to move on from Cody Zeller. So maybe he will be available.
It'd be nice. I know we don't really have a lot of depth behind Jokic. I know we had JaVale McGee, but he didn't really do a whole lot, and Aaron Gordon at the power forwards. So it'd be nice to have Cody Zeller or a Robin Lopez to, take minutes for Jokic when he needs to get some rest. Because we saw in the playoffs, especially in the Sun series. They had no answer for DeAndre Ayton. They couldn't
Right.
box out. So I would love to see them go out and get a center to back up Jokic.
And what pick is Denver? Do you know? What's their first round pick?
I'm actually not too sure.
I can find it real quick. Now I know that there's a center coming out of the University of Texas. I'm actually wearing their shirt right now. And I think he would be a good fit for you guys, actually. Let me look real quick.
They do have a first. Nuggets have a first round, and I can't tell if they have more than that, but they do have a first round draft pick, so that should help them.
Number 26, pick number 26 is Denver. I think that's their only first round pick.
That's what it looks like. It looks like they traded everything
I
else.
think that if they had another one, it was part of the Aaron Gordon trade, probably.
That I believe so. So
were you happy with the addition of Aaron Gordon?
I was, just because we needed that defender besides Jokic. And I know Aaron Gordon's not much of a scorer, but he helped us down low too. I was pretty surprised at how much impact he actually took when he traded for him, just because of the fact I didn't know what to really expect. I was kind of excited going, okay, we have a defender, but we also need a scorer. And he was on some of the opponent's best players. And we saw, especially in the Portland series, he actually turned some of those games around because of the fact that he played such tight defense on Damian Lillard. So I'm excited to see what he can do with a full year of Nikola Jokic. And also, don't forget, we have Campazzo, who's also playing with Argentina, who's also a good defender. So if you put those two together, and it's going to be one scary defensive matchup. We just need to get MPJ playing a little more defense. But I think Aaron Gordon's definitely a good addition for this team.
Well, you know what, and you were talking about he's a great defender, and he may not have been your guys' 1, 2, or 3 top scorers, but he had more than 0 points. I can tell you that.
Probably true, but there were games where he'd have like 4 or 5 rebounds and a couple of blocks, and you look at the points, it's only like 2 or 3. But the fact that his defense helps our offense, meaning that he takes away possessions, and that's what you need.
Absolutely. Now, do you think Milwaukee will stay like status quo, like their roster won't change going into next season?
That is a really tough question, because we see it in all sports that when you win a championship, teams want to be like you and take your players. I'm not sure what their cap space is like right now, but I could see them staying with the status quo, because why not have the same team go out and try to win back-to-back? Like the Lakers did with Kobe Bryant, or what the Golden State Warriors did with Steph Curry, even though they added Kevin Durant, but that was mostly the same team. Or go out like the Chicago Bulls did in the early and late 90s. I could see them staying together. Why not? You've won 1. You want 2. You want 3. I could act like LeBron James right now and say, 1, 2, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. But the point is I could see them staying together and winning another NBA championship, because that's what you want.
I know that Giannis signed his Supermax deal at the very end of December. So it was like right as the season was starting. So cap space probably will be an issue for them, because it was 200 and something million. I want to say it was like 213 million. So cap space is probably going to be an issue for them. Interesting win for them. I think they really saved their coach's job, because I thought he was on his way out.
I did too. I mean, you read all the things that said, oh, if they don't get a top seed, they're gone. Oh, if they don't go far in the playoff, they're gone. The fact of the matter is I think they were playing as a team for the coach's job. And what do you know? They ended up winning an NBA championship. I know it's highly unlikely now that he gets fired, but you know what? Anything is possible. I know it's a different sport, but in the NHL, when the Washington Capitals won their Stanley Cup championship 3 years ago, they let their coach walk. So anything is possible. I think he gets an extension though.
I do think he gets an extension. I just don't see them letting him go. For me, I feel like, this was, if he didn't close out this series, that he was absolutely on his way out. Now that our Bucks rep is actually here in the studio, let's go ahead and pull him on and get his point of view. We have Cool McCain. Hey, Cool.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you? Congratulations.
Thanks.
Awesome. Now,
Yeah.
we all rep our teams, but you were definitely, you called this from the beginning of the playoffs, Bucks in 6. Isn't that what you said? And sure enough, that's what it ended up being.
Honestly, it's more of a lucky guess, but hey, I'll take it.
Right. So tell me what was the best thing that you take away from this series, and then what was the best thing that you take away from this season?
Well, from the series, I'd honestly say, never give up on your team and just play hard until the end. One of the things I really heard a lot about from a lot of the Bucks players after the game, and even interviews with some players as well, is play your game at all times, right? Always play your game. And I think that's, a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is important. I know there are certain people on the Bucks, including Megan's favorite player, that may not score as many points as some people would like. But I will say that, everybody played a role. And I think they did a really good job of playing their roles. And I think Phoenix also tried to do the same thing. It's just that when they lost the momentum, they just were never able to get it back. Right. They had some clean looks. Let's just be honest. They had a lot of good looks, a lot of opportunities. They just didn't make as many of them as they were early on. It's not like there was a suffocating defense that just stopped them at all. They just never could get that momentum back. And
I definitely agree. It wasn't a series of blowouts. The last few games were very close games, and 5-4 points. The last game was a 7-point game. So it wasn't necessarily that you were just massively that much better than Phoenix, but y'all had that edge. How much role do you give Giannis as that edge that took you over to the next level? Or do you feel like the rest of the team was a big part of that as well?
Well, it definitely was Giannis, right? Because if you don't have Giannis, we probably don't win. They probably don't win, but maybe one game. He's a phenomenal guy in that he has so many things that he does. He's definitely a hard, difficult rebounder. He's always in rebounding hard, playing hard on defense, giving his all. You see this guy most of the time. He's breathing hard, bent over in between breaks. He'll take a quick rest just to sit down for a few minutes. He plays hard, and he's kind of like that engine that makes the car go. But you still need the carburetor, right? You still need the transmission. Right. You still need the gas. You still need all the other pieces. But if you don't have the engine, you still can't go. So he is the most important piece. Definitely, but there are some other guys, as we saw, if they don't have Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday have at least decent scoring games, it's very difficult for them to win. So there are other pieces that they need, but Giannis is definitely the piece.
Definitely. And so if there was something that you kind of saw as negative out of this series or this season that you would want to address in the offseason, what would it be?
So Milwaukee has guys like Pat Connaughton, Brian Forbes, PJ Tucker, some of the guys that are one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. They only have that one skill. You need to bring in some guys that are a little bit more multidimensional, a little bit more athletic, that can shoot the three, because if you're going to be a team that loves the three, you have to make them. Mm-hmm. Sure. So they did do, the best job of that. And then they definitely need another young big that can be like a backup center, can kind of play the role that Bobby Porter's played, but have one more of those guys. So that way, you can kind of interchange. Lopez is getting older. We talked about this off the show, but online before. And you kind of need to start finding someone else that's going to be able to step in if you want to keep this going. And then also that may help prolong Lopez if he's only playing 15 to 20 minutes a game, right, whether as a starter or as a backup versus playing 30, 35 minutes. So definitely want to address that issue. And then, just some shooting and athleticism on the wings. That's something that Milwaukee definitely needs. You can never have enough quality point guards.
Correct. Now, just speaking about that, do you guys have a first-round draft pick? I don't think you do.
I don't believe we do. I can check for you real quick and confirm, but I think we had to give that up in the Drew Holiday trade.
You have pick number 31, which is the first pick of round 2. And you got that from Houston. I guess whenever y'all picked up DJ, it would be my assumption. So, what are your hopes for the draft? Is there anyone in particular? I know that's pretty late in the draft, so you're not going to be able to pick up one of those top 10 picks. But is there a certain position other than backup center, or is there a backup center coming out in the draft that you think would fit well with you guys?
So it's kind of hard to say. Because like I said, it's so late in, but I think definitely backup center or a power forward, small forward, like a hybrid guy that can play that position, maybe like end up being a big shooter on the wing would be good at that position as well. It's just so hard to tell because somebody will slide down. They probably shouldn't be there. They picked 31, so maybe able to slide in and get someone who we didn't anticipate getting. But definitely, if I was choosing, it would be somebody that is either a solid 4-5 or like a 3-4 step out shooter.
Okay.
With size and athleticism, definitely.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and slide over to Team USA. Jordan and I were talking about them a little bit earlier. They just lost to France. I believe you said it was a 7-point loss. Is that correct, Jordan?
Correct. 83-76.
So thoughts on that? And then also there's been some comments about some of the players not liking Popovich's offense. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, the first thing, and we've talked about this before, is we don't have some of our star players there. Like we have guys like Julius Randle, Zion Williamson are not there. Guys like LeBron, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, so many guys you can name that did not come on the team. So you're playing with guys that, while they are really good players, you look outside of Durant and you don't really see like a superstar, in my opinion, on the team. So you have Durant and you have a bunch of stars, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe Damian Lillard, but, guards in international play are kind of interchangeable more. So you really kind of need that big guy that can shoot. And that's really only Durant right now, as far as a veteran superstar that has that presence. So I think you're missing some of that. They just got outplayed. They're getting outplayed on a regular basis, even in the games that they're winning. Like I've gone back and watched the replays on Peacock, or at least the highlights for some and the replays for some. And I got to be honest, they're just not, they don't look like they're just really into it and giving it all. And it may be that they don't like Popovich. That may be what it is. But whatever it is, you need a gold medal. Hopefully you're here to get a gold medal. So if there's an issue, hopefully those guys can get together behind closed doors and fix the issue. If that's changing the offense, I feel like Popovich is a guy, and I'm sure you know a little bit more about him than I do, but I feel like he's a guy that you can go to and say, hey, Pop, this, we don't feel like it's working for us. Let's try this, and maybe you can, come to agreement on, working some other things into the offense. But it definitely looks stagnant. It definitely looks like some of the guys are disinterested. And, I saw some reports that they'd been out partying and drinking till 3 or 4 in the morning the night before the French game. So I got to say, maturity seems to be a problem on the team as well, because where's the leadership to say, what are you doing? It's the night before a game. If you want to go out and party after the game, if you want to go out and party 2-3 nights before the game, cool. But the night before a game, you're going to go and hang out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo, which has a high COVID rate right now with the new variant. It's not really a smart decision, an intelligent decision, nor good for your basketball. So just a lot of things going on with Team USA. And they're all grown men, right? So you have to be the one to make these decisions. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're even going to do what they should and actually get to a medal game or not.
The ladies have their game tonight. They play Nigeria at 11:40 my time, so that's Central. So if you're on Eastern time, it'll be 12:40. If you want to stay up that late, I will be up that late watching the game and actually hitting one of the press conferences. So I will be up, and I'm excited to see them play. Now, I was telling Jordan, though, that is their last exhibition game was against Nigeria. And it was a 30-point win. But do you feel like it works in their favor or against them to play them this close again? Because Olympics is basically tournament style ball. So having to play them back to back, do you think they'll be able to adjust?
I don't think there's a way Nigeria is going to be able to adjust to beat Team USA.
Okay.
The women's team is as dominant as the men's teams should be.
Okay.
The women's teams have been dominant even when we didn't have a professional league for them to play in. They would still go dominate at the Olympics. So I feel like the women are never in question. They're shown professionalism. They don't go out and party till 3 or 4 in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before games. They don't do any of those things that are not wise, to win, because they understand that they're representatives of their sport and their country. And they get that. And I'm not saying that the men don't get that, but maybe they're not thinking about that when they're making certain poor decisions. But the women seem to have always handled themselves better in, soccer and basketball than the men, except for the original Dream Team.
Right. Now, if you want to watch something really fun and you want to see the women dominate for real, watch the 3-on-3.
3-on-3.
They are playing great right now. I've really enjoyed it.
And they've had 15, 20 games already?
Yeah,
because
the way 3-on-3 is set up, you play everybody in the first round, then you move forward. So it's definitely tournament style ball. So you play every single team, then you move on from there. It's called a round robin kind of tournament. So really, I've enjoyed watching that a lot. So and then also, I saw a clip come out earlier this week, and it was Kevin Durant and Bam Adebayo. Did y'all see that clip?
I saw it.
Kevin went off on Bam because Bam didn't return the ball that Kevin had made from the shot. And so when I was watching that, my thought was the attitudes that I saw from both of them really was very unprofessional, definitely. Kevin Durant came off as very, very petty, and Bam kind of came off as not really caring. So it wasn't a good sign. When I was watching that, I was like, that's not going to – I know they don't play for Pop, but Pop doesn't go for that kind of stuff. So it was definitely I could see why they would say that they don't enjoy playing for Pop like that, because I know he probably did not cut for that whatsoever.
I didn't realize who was in that video, but now you mention it, I did see the video, and I would agree it was bad attitude.
It was from both, you know what I mean? You definitely should be professional and help your teammates and return the ball that they're making, but you probably shouldn't call them out while the camera's rolling and for the entire world to see like that. So the men are in trouble. But so next week we will be returning for a draft recap. And go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you, where they can follow you. And congratulations so much, Cool, on winning the 2020-2021 season.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was like I said, it was a fun season. I loved watching a lot. I watched a lot more of different teams this year than I have before, just because, we were doing the show and kind of being able to, talk about the teams when you're playing and kind of see the matchups and everything. So it's really exciting, man. And, thanks to everybody that, tuned in to watch us. It was really cool. Hopefully we'll be able to do it again next year, even bigger and better. And, of course, you can find me on playcallsportstalk.com on Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can follow me on, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Cool McCain. And I'll be back next week. Love to get that victory in my first season in the Carousel.
Awesome.
You can find me at Sports Scoop 1 on Twitter, and I have my own blog that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com. And like Cool said, I am a Denver Nuggets fan. I know he follows the Denver Nuggets, so it was nice to actually follow a different team. And hopefully next year, either the Suns or the Nuggets will win a championship. But, of course, I hope to be back here on the show. And thanks a lot, Megan, for hosting.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next week for the draft wrap-up show. Bye, guys. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Enjoy the Olympics. And as soon as the Olympics are over, don't forget about the WNBA season. It's only halfway over, and the playoffs will be coming shortly after that. Bye, guys.